Healthier Together, sponsored by Regents Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oregon.
Playing sports, organized or otherwise, is an important building block of childhood for many kids and teens. But whether on the court, field, or in the water, injuries can and will happen. In fact, every year, more than 3.5 million kids under the age of 14 are treated for sports-related injuries here in the U.S. Almost a third of all childhood injuries are sports-related. While some injuries are more serious than others, there are things that we can do to prevent them. Here's Dr. James Polo.
But for kids, pain is considered abnormal. So if a child is limping or they're having pain that's getting worse or pain is persistent, that is the first sign that they have an injury.
Just about any student athlete has the potential to get hurt, whether from contact with another player or from overuse or misuse of a body part.
Now, keep in mind, kids are slower to recover from an injury, and they're more at risk for an injury. So it's really important that we spend some time thinking about, well, what are all the common injuries they can have, and what are the things that they can do to prevent those?
The most common sports injuries are sprints, strains, and fractures.
Typically, kids get involved in a sport that's new for them. They're going through some kind of repetitive motion. Their bones are still growing, their muscles are still developing flexibility, and you need to pay attention to that. They should not go back to whatever sport they were engaged in until that pain is resolved. And playing the sport should not cause pain.
Aside from those common injuries impacting growing bones and muscles, head injuries can have a lasting impact and can be harder to notice.
So it's very important that when any child has suffered a concussion, that first of all, they're examined for signs and symptoms, and that they're fully recovered and cleared before they actually return to the sport.
A concussion affects brain function, usually temporarily, but can include headaches and problems with concentration, memory, balance, and coordination.
Teach kids about these potential symptoms, but then ask them questions and validate that they don't have them.
The signs and symptoms of a concussion can be subtle and might not show up right away. You don't always lose consciousness, and those symptoms can last days, weeks, or even longer. Symptoms include headache, memory loss, particularly forgetting the event that caused the concussion, confusion, like they're in a fog. There are the physical signs as well, ringing in the ears, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, blurry vision, and sensory changes, a change in hearing, taste, feeling dizzy, being suddenly sensitive to light.
These are very important to be mindful of, because once you've suffered a concussion, essentially a part of the brain has been a little bit bruised, and that part of the brain needs to fully recover before it's exposed to potential risk again.
So what can we do to prevent sports injuries? Well, first, proper protective gear. Make sure the equipment fits properly and is well maintained and worn correctly. Next, make sure your child is ready for the sport that they want to play.
Make sure that kids are physically fit to actually be in the sport that they want to play. And this often involves making sure that developmentally they're appropriate, that they're at the right place for the particular sport, and matching them well with other children that are at the same level.
And finally, you cannot underscore the importance of practice. Know the rules of the game and use good sportsmanship. So parents, if you do notice a change, speak up and make sure your student athlete gets the proper care and recovery time before getting back in the game.
And all kids, you need to have, vigilant parents taking care of them.
For more information and to see other stories to empower your health, visit kgw.com/healthiertogether.